What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're going to be changing the oil on my 2001 Lexus GS300. Now this will apply to pretty much any 2JZ. This is the non-turbo model because I'm lame, but anyway, GS300, IS300, same thing. Let's change the oil. Okay, so I have it pulled into the garage most of the way, and the tools you're going to need for this job: some jack stands of course, the oil and an oil drain bucket, and a 14mm wrench or socket and ratchet, whatever you prefer. You may or may not need an oil filter wrench. The oil filter is located right there, and sometimes it's super tight, but hopefully you can get it by hand. If not, some giant pliers will work, and if that doesn't work, you're gonna have to go get an oil filter wrench. I know mine's gonna come off by hand because I put it on last, but if it was over tightened, then you might need that wrench. Another thing I forgot to mention is obviously you need to change your oil filter as well. I have this Denso. Here's the part number if you want it. Rock Auto has a bunch of them for cheap, and I bought them in bulk, so that's even better. Wix works well as well. Just stay away from the Fram ones. You can run 10W30. It's totally fine. And the reason I have this small bottle of 1030 and a big bottle of 530, takes 5.5 quarts by the way, is because I have this left over from my last oil change. In the summer I run 1030, in the winter I run 530, so I have this one left over, and I'm going to use 530, 5 quarts of 530, and just about a quart of 1030, which is not a big deal. It's the same kind of oil, just a different cold weight, and it's not going to affect it that much. You can run either at all times. You can check it in the manual. So let's get the oil drain pan and drain the oil. Alright, right here underneath the car you can see your oil pan and your 14mm drain plug, so break that free. Make sure you apply pressure to the drain plug as you unscrew it so that it stays in place, and then when it's free, or when it's ready to release, just pull it. Inspect and clean your drain plug, and it should have a gasket on it. If it doesn't, add one if you feel like it. Sometimes it'll seal up fine without it. But here's a gasket that came off of it. Usually I reuse these a few times. I know you're probably not supposed to, but whatever. Once it's down to a drip like this, you could let it drip for another, I don't know, 3 hours probably, but I call that done. So cap it off, tighten it up, and then we'll move on to the oil filter. This drain plug has a torque. I don't know it, so I usually just make it snug. Alright, oil will fall down from right about here from the oil filter, so place the drain pan that you have somewhere in the vicinity of here. And if we go right up top, like I said before, there's the oil filter right there. Oh, I can see it spinning. There it goes. Looks like I got lucky this time. Usually it just slips, and as soon as you crack it loose, go down to the bottom. Check that it's actually dripping in your drain pan and not next to it. This does make a mess every time. Now just remove it all the way. Try to keep it upright to minimize the spilling. And there you have it. At this point, I usually like to drain whatever's left before it goes in the trash so it doesn't fill up my trash with oil. Now we'll get our new oil filter. Again, that's the part number if you want it. This is a Wix one, and the part number is that if you're interested in the Wix. I like these because they come sealed, so you know no debris has gotten in there. I can't really fill it too much, or pre-fill it I should say, in this case, because it sits at an angle, so most of the oil will just drain out of it, but I do want to pre-fill it just a little bit. I don't want to put it in completely dry. I'm going to pre-fill it with my small quart of 1030 because it's easier to pour. So I usually go fast, let it go up to the top, and then whatever soaks in from here, that's it. Because more than this, it's just going to spill all over the place when you try and screw it in. And I twist it so that, I don't know if you can see, but there are small baffles in there. I let it soak into the filter material. Get a little bit of your oil and coat the O-ring right here. That way it seals up nice, and it also helps it not stick. And also make sure that your old filter came off with the O-ring, otherwise you're double gasketing and that's no good. Alright, to reinstall it, I'm gonna slowly try and bring it down there. As you can see, there are the threads. I can actually see better through the camera than I can from up here where I am. But thread it on, bottom it out, and once it gets snug, I usually give it about half a turn. That should do it. And now my glove is slipping, so hang on. Alright, I got myself a grippy glove, and we'll give it that half a turn. That's perfectly fine. And there it is. Oil filter is done. Let's fill it up with oil. One quick thing before we bring it down and fill it, clean up the oil that's spilt. That way it doesn't make a mess and get all gooey and sticky in the future. Once this is done dripping, we'll get this out of here and lower it down. Alright, now because I'm parked slightly out of the garage, the front of the car is slightly inclined down, so I'm going to use the jack as a leveling tool and kind of leave it a little bit jacked up. That way the engine is sitting parallel to the ground and I can measure the correct amount of oil that goes in there. Okay, so like I said, this takes just over 5 quarts, about 5.5, and I'm going to put a little bit more than 5.5 in just because the oil filter isn't completely full yet. Alright, time to check it. I'm going to check it before I start it, then I'm going to start it for a few seconds and then check it again. Okay, so it has to be right between these two little marks here. And you probably can't see it on camera, but it's actually right above this top mark right here, which is perfect. That was a full 6 quarts. Usually I go with a full 6 quarts because half a quart over isn't gonna do any harm. All right, let's start it up really quick. Let it idle for maybe 5 seconds, shut it down, wait a few seconds, check it again. When you do start it, what you wanna keep an eye on is the oil pressure light. It's that one right there. You wanna make sure that that shuts off within a few seconds of the engine starting. Perfect. You can ignore that, pretend like it's not there. Okay, perfect. Okay, now I'm gonna clean up while this sits for a minute or so, and then we'll come back here and check it. Okay, it's been a couple minutes, let's check it. That's slightly under, and that's all right. You don't want it to be over, and it's nowhere near the bottom. It's actually very close to the top, if you can see it. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, that's perfect level right there. Like I said, I put 6 quarts in. 10W30 works just fine. I mainly use 10W30 in the summer, and in the winter I run 530. But like I said, I had that 1 quart left over, and that's no big deal. One thing I like to do is I like to put the used oil back into the original container. That way it allows me to measure how much oil came out, and with that I know if it has a leak, I know how much it leaks, and if I know it burns oil, I know how much it burns. If it does both, I know how much goes to waste. So in this case, I'm going to pour all the used oil back in here, and it should be just about 5-ish, 4.5 quarts. In this case, I have just about 4.5 quarts, so exactly what I was expecting. Now, last time I changed the oil, I actually did a major engine overhaul, which stay tuned for that video soon, and I had the engine all apart, so it was bone dry, and although I did try to overfill it, I didn't want to overfill it too much. In 3,000 miles, I'm going to change it again. I like to do it every 3,000 miles. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful. If it was, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.